Hi, I'm JP Collins.
And I'm Julie Ward.
And this is the Book of Hours podcast, video podcast. And today we're talking about Ghost. In other words, Ghost Ship.
The Ghost Ship in Oakland.
Something that's just happened in our backyard and to the community we belong to. The creative community, artists, musicians. And it's happened in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay, Oakland, California, which is just across from San Francisco where we're located. You wanted to say something about the relevance of our video today.
Well, the very first podcast that JP and I did for Book of Hours was entitled Pulse. That was our very first podcast that we ever did. And it was from the Pulse nightclub shooting. There was so much information coming down the pike about that tragedy that JP and I just decided to,
start podcasting.
Start podcasting as a result of all of this information, and that sort of morphed into Book of Hours. So this feels really ominous and a little bit full circle now that we're doing yet another podcast about a club type of situation that
resulted
in such a terrible tragedy. The difference, though, of course, is that what happened at Pulse was less avoidable than what happened at Ghost Ship. What happened at Ghost Ship was completely avoidable. Like, it totally could have been avoided. So that's what we want to talk about today.
Right, and, like a lot of people in the Bay Area, we're in shock, especially in the creative community. I was listening to KALX in Berkeley earlier, and the DJ Fernando was talking about it. He plays a lot of electronic music, and he played a track by one of the artists that was killed in the fire, and it's kind of amazing how much it's affected everybody. And we wanted to get our put our 2 cents in and talk about the situation. And we really wanted to focus on something that hasn't been focused on by the mainstream media, and the reason that this probably happened in the first place.
Right.
And that is that the Bay Area is a very expensive area to live in. We're in California, of course, and California is expensive, but the Bay Area is especially expensive. San Francisco got to be so expensive that most artists have left the city. Musicians
and moved to Oakland,
and a lot of them moved to Oakland or Los
Angeles. Yeah.
A lot of the musicians have moved to LA because it makes more sense for them, but the artists moved to Oakland because there was lots of cheap warehouse space, and something that's disappeared from San Francisco. And the fact that creative people cannot afford to live in a lot of standard housing or even afford workspace. I mean, we do all our things here in our apartment simply because workspace is so unaffordable. I do painting. We do our videos. Julie writes, and we do everything here in our apartment. If we could afford it, we would go to a workspace and have soundproof and things like that. Artists are different than other people who do different things. Okay, so artists need space. They need space to work in. They need space to make a mess in. And they can't just do it in an office. They can't just do it in their apartment. If you're a sculptor, if you're a musician, you need space that you can separate yourself from, the world, so that you can either have soundproofing or you can, let sparks fly or whatever.
So that's one of the reasons why Derick, who was the warehouse manager for Ghost Ship, that was sort of his reasoning for wanting to create these spaces for these artists, was to give them an opportunity to be creative in a space where they could just relax and be themselves, while also they lived there. I mean, charging them rent.
Right, and artist collectives have popped up all over, and they have for a very long time, but they've popped up in Oakland quite a bit in the last 15 years. And it's a way to help pay for space. And the rising rents have started forcing a lot of people out of even these spaces. But what was going on at Ghost Ship was something completely illegal and unfortunately dangerous.
It's part of what you find when you live in a parasite economy or a parasitic economy like we live in.
Mm-hmm.
This falls into the same type of issues that you have with employers who are refusing to pay living wages, or for people who have to live their life without insurance, or for, you know, the $1 trillion student debt that so many of our millennials are saddled with. This is called a parasitic economy or a parasite economy, and this is part of it. Mm-hmm. What happened with Ghost Ship is totally part of it.
Yeah, I think it falls into that because, you know, and to extend that into another metaphor, a winner-take-all economy, you know,
right.
We're living in an area that where tech workers are making lots and lots of money, or
right.
a good money, and they're raising the rate because they make money, and because they're willing to pay more for apartments, and because there's a demand on apartments and workspace and live space. A lot of tech companies are moving into areas that were once home and workspaces for artists, raising the rents so that
so what you have are people like Derick coming along and taking advantage of that, and exploiting the high need to, you know, to not only, you know, be creative and be who you are, but also, you know, exploiting the people that need a place to live.
So you have a very self-involved individual, narcissistic, and has been described, you know, what we've been reading, described as autocratic and narcissistic, and
these are people who know him. These are people who have had to take him aside and say, you need to stop what you're doing. You're putting your children's lives in danger. These are his friends that we're quoting. We're not just
making things
up. These are local
not
people.
Our opinion necessarily.
So, right.
But from what we understand, it was a very, there was janky wiring throughout the building. He was, you know, stealing power from the auto body shop next door. So it was janky wiring. There was trash strewn about, you know, outside of the building. There were lots of complaints over the last couple of years, by neighbors complaining about the building. So,
and the city had been, you know, coming after the landlord saying, your garbage is a hazard. It's a fire hazard. And
you know, the last time
toxic waste.
Right. The last time the city came through, nobody answered the door, and so the city left. And I'm pretty damn sure that Derick made sure that everyone pretended that nobody was home, so that you know, the inspectors would go away. And now we have the results.
Right. And so what I really wanted to drive home was, you know, there's this social justice warrior term that's been going around called safe space. This isn't about that. This is about just a space. This is just about people needing to find a space to live, not a safe space, but just a space where they can live and that they can create and be who they are. That's different than, you know, go to your safe space and,
well, we've been,
you know,
there's an article that was put out by KTVU, a local radio TV station, public station, and they were talking about, you know, the safe space where, you know, artists and creatives and
yeah, they got it all wrong.
You know, the alternative communities can be with their own and do whatever they want, you know. And it's not about that. I mean, some of this is lifestyle choices, sure, but that comes with living in a warehouse. I think there's artists who choose to live and work in the same space, and there's artists who choose not to do that. And you know, and I think basically what it comes down to is we need to have places where artists can feel comfortable, well, not just feel comfortable, I guess I want to get away from that idea, where they can actually do the work they need to do in an affordable space and not feel like they're going to get pushed out, and not be and we need a climate where people like Derick can't exploit the situation.
Right.
and use the situation of high rents to exploit other people,
Right.
while claiming that he's offering this creative, groovy space for people to live in.
So unlike Pulse, this was completely avoidable, and it was completely exploitive.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, and also it wasn't terrorist related.
Right.
You know,
well, in a way, it
felt like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but. Also, if you think about it, you go to socialist countries and, they treat everybody equally. So if you want, they treat people who want to have these sort of artisan or creative jobs or lifestyles or whatever, they treat them as if it's a trade. So, in Sweden and in Germany, you're sent to school to learn your trade, which may be painting or whatever, not just painting, but multimedia type of creation.
Well, they treat arts differently there than
right.
they do here.
And so what happens is you get your affordable housing, and you have got working toilets and electricity that's not, that won't put you in peril. You've got actual stairs instead of like what they had at Ghost Ship, which was handmade pallets.
Yeah.
All of this is ridiculous that we have to live this way. And ultimately what happened was, in order to make the rent, they had to put on these once a month parties. Mm-hmm. So these parties were regular occurrences that happened every month, and it was how to make the rent. Derick was charging them $300 a pop to live there. There were quite a few people that lived there. And so the sad part is the people that actually went to the party to enjoy themselves and paid their fee to get in are the ones who perished.
And the one of the artists that was headlining the show perished as well, which is very sad. It's just, again, it's an unavoidable thing.
This totally could have been avoidable if our society treated the creative community in the same manner that they treat the CEO of Walmart or a lawyer
or a tech company wanting to rent a space,
right,
or whatever.
It's like if there was some sort of balance, if there was some sort of idea that you could respect, a person that wants to run a multi-million-dollar tech company versus somebody who wants to, beautify and create an environment for the community.
I think that there. It's hard to really know what the answer is. We don't have the answer, obviously. But let me just say that, regulation isn't doing it either, because in San Francisco, I'm going to give you an example. We have some friends that had a workspace. It was a building. It wasn't an artist collective, but it was a warehouse building. It was on one floor. And it was day studios. It was work. It wasn't live work.
You just go in. It's kind of like going to work.
Yeah.
You go in at 9 o'clock. You do your thing, and you leave at 5.
Yeah, whatever it was, or they work at night, or whatever it might be.
But it's the same thing. That's one thing I really want to drive home too. Is that a lot of people don't understand that creatives treat their work the same way that you treat your day job. When you get up and get in your car and drive to work and you clock in and do your thing and then go home, it's the same thing with a creative. Mm-hmm. It's a specific, it's not, it's not just, they're sitting around and smoking pot or getting drunk and having fun and partying. No, it's a job. Mm-hmm. It's what they do. So anyway.
Yeah, well, okay. All right. So they were in a building that was apparently in a specific zone. It was zoned for small business and creative output, so like artist studios. And yet, the landlord was allowed to raise the rent or basically end the lease and bring in a tech company to move into the space. Now, technically, I suppose you could call that tech company a small business, but it wasn't the kind of small business that was
contributing
or for that particular type of zone. What they were thinking of were like auto repair shops, small light industry, and creative artist spaces. But for some reason, the city government turned their back, or looked the other way while this happened. And so, what was it, like something like 24 maybe more artists had to go find new workspace.
Right.
And it was less affordable. And these people all, contribute to the economy here in San Francisco. It's not like they're just, sucking off. Excuse me. It's not like they're
Right.
just,
Right.
getting free money and that kind of thing. I mean, these people were working artists, and so
Right.
it's really it's very disheartening. And we don't know what the answer is, but we do know this, that the situation now, especially in the Bay Area, with the economy the way it is forcing the creative community out of the Bay Area, and it's sucking the life of what once was a vital city, a very interesting city, and making it very generic and
I think
kind of boring.
that's happening nationwide,
Yeah.
little by little.
Yeah.
Of course,
People
we're
are
becoming
moving to Detroit and
very
to Pittsburgh.
homogenized. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People are moving to Detroit and Pittsburgh. These are cities that you would never ever consider living in. People are moving there and making them thriving, robust towns, affordable too. So let's talk a little bit about Derick and Mika. They are the married couple that managed the warehouse, mostly Derick. They are not responding very well to the tragedy. They're showing a lot of hubris. They're not showing. At first, they didn't show any concern for the families or the victims. It was sort of
Well, the Facebook post that keeps getting quoted, was very self.
I lost my art.
Yeah, very self-involved and
I lost my opulent life. I mean, he actually used the word opulent.
Right.
It sounded a little cultish to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that was my take on it. It seemed kind of cultish.
Well, and then we'll provide a link. There was an ABC, local ABC reporter who tried to get a response from them while they were staying at a hotel in the area.
They were staying at the Hilton.
No, it was the Marriott.
I mean,
but,
or the Marriott.
But still, I mean, it's not a cheap place to stay.
No, it looked lovely.
And to tell you the truth, their body language showed complete disdain.
Yeah.
Like they didn't care. They didn't want to respond. They were acting more like celebrities who were avoiding the paparazzi. So you can watch that in the video.
Yeah.
It's, again, these are things that they're not our opinions. These are things that we've been reading from and hearing from people who actually, I'll provide also another link that included an interview with somebody who was living in the building for a while there, as well as somebody who's a friend of Derick who confronted him about his drug use. Apparently he was taking methamphetamine.
Yeah,
again,
so
these are all
he's
allegations.
He's got a sketchy past.
Yeah.
There's just...
And a lot more is coming out. Apparently
Yeah.
he's doing parole, or he's supposed to do parole for felony offense.
Yeah.
So more and more is going to come
news.
out about him, and we both feel that they're both going to spend some time in prison.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't, it's really surprising. It's also surprising that he doesn't have an attorney speaking for him yet.
Right.
I mean, it just happened a couple of days ago, so
But
and I have a feeling he's still in denial. And also, the victims. There's 36 victims so far. 33 of them have been identified, and the coroner's office expects more to come out. Should have never happened.
Yeah, and our hearts go out to the families of the victims, and to the people who have survived, the people who've had to leave friends behind in the building because they couldn't help them.
That was awful. That was awful.
This is not only a tragic event, but something that just feels so horrific. I can't imagine being in the shoes of the people that had to leave their friends behind.
Yeah, I think what's really, really bothering me too is when the Pulse shooting happened, the entire nation, because we are so, nationalistic, practically everybody on social media was saying, our hearts go out to the Orlando victims at the Pulse nightclub. I mean, because we're such a nationalistic society now, and it was deemed as a terrorist attack.
And now,
and for this thing, which is worse than what happened at Pulse, it's horrific. It is by far so much worse than what happened at Pulse.
and the thing is a lot of the blame is going to the
and
people.
nobody's responding.
Right, people.
Nobody on social media is saying our hearts go out to the
No,
victim.
they're calling the victims and the people who were there a bunch of hippies.
And they're basically blaming the victims. And what
because,
it
again,
was,
they're artists, right?
Right, is because they're artists and they don't quite fit into the standard, stereotypical homogenized society that we've become. Nobody's saying our hearts go out to the ghost ship victims. Our hearts go out to these artists. Look, these are people who showed up to a party, paid good money to invest in their community. These are hardworking people. These are people that went to really good schools. These are people who were, there was one kid who was the son of a deputy sheriff. He was a good kid. He was giving back to his community. He was having a little fun. I mean, this is, and so the wreckage is so bad, and the toxins are so bad that the fire department had to pull back. They were going through 70% of the building. They finally had to exit the building because of all the toxins, and they couldn't resume their investigation until about noon today. I mean, at least I'm sorry, I know it sounds really callous and terrible, but at least with Pulse, I mean, the building itself wasn't a toxic wasteland. It was, you could enter the building safely.
After that was gone.
the tragedy, but with this is different. I mean, the walls are still coming down, the ceilings are still caving in, they're still sparking, loose wires. It's a danger to the fire department that is going above and beyond their duty to try to gently and compassionately remove the remains. I mean, this is horrific. This is the thing they're saying that this is the most horrific California fire in history. And nobody on social media is saying our hearts go out to the victims like they did with Pulse, because once again, it doesn't have anything to do with terrorism and putting our country at risk. It's just a bunch of, artists who don't really contribute anything to society anyway. Oh, well, nobody cares, and that's bullshit.
Yeah,
that's
I agree.
Bullshit.
I agree.
So.
Okay, well, this has been another podcast from Book of Hours. This one we're calling Ghost. And we'll put all the links that we of the stories and video that we were referring to on our on the comment section. If you have any comments, please leave them. If you'd like to subscribe, please do. Any other thoughts?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching, and trolls will be ignored. Thank you.